Minerva makers, it is Jo, and I'm here today to show you how to line a skirt. There are a couple of different ways, but if you're following a pattern, you'll be fine. You're just following through the steps in the instructions. But if you're making a pattern for a skirt that hasn't got a lining and you would like to put one in, then this is the video for you. I'll take you through some easy steps to line a straight skirt. The skirt that I'm using today is a self-drafted skirt, which I have really enjoyed making. It's been a real game changer for me because I followed the skirt block tutorials from Izzy over on our YouTube channel. It's brilliant because I know the skirt fits so that I can make it up in any fabric and I don't have to keep trying on or adjusting the darts and the length and everything. It's just a skirt block paper pattern that is just for me and it feels fantastic. So I do recommend that you go over and take a look at Izzy's videos. The skirt that I'm making today is made in brocade. It's actually the same fabric as this jacket here. This jacket is a 1960s vintage pattern. I lined this jacket, it's a 3/4 length, and I had a little bit of fabric left over and I knew I could make the most fantastic suit if I made a skirt as well. Because it's a brocade fabric, you'll find that lots of brocade fabrics are highly textured. They're sometimes got metallic threads in. They can be a little bit scratchy and a little bit uncomfortable. So I've made my skirt up and today I'm going to line it. The reasons you might line a skirt are if you've ordered some fabric and you really like the print but it's the wrong weight. So for example, if you ordered a cotton lawn and you didn't realise it was such a lightweight cotton, you can line one of those with a cotton lining. If you've got a skirt that's an itchy fabric like I've got, then it really works for that. The reason that I love to have the luxury of lining a skirt is one of the special skills that I really cherish because I can sew, is that I can make a skirt that's really comfortable. So if I wear thick tights, opaque tights, woolly tights, leggings, anything like that, then my skirts are still comfortable to wear. They're not sticking to my legs, especially because I sit down a lot for work. I think this is particularly poignant with short skirts, the short mini skirt style, because if you have a petticoat, it's normally hangs down below the length of a mini skirt. If you've got a full skirt or a long skirt, you can put a petticoat underneath, but with shorter skirts, the lining really does help to give them that really nice luxurious feeling. If you have lined a skirt or you know of a pattern that you have made and successfully lined, we'd love to see it. Take a photograph of it, show us the pattern, show us what fabric linings you have been choosing, because there's more than one type. I've used a satin on the inside of this jacket. I've used a non-static lining in the sleeves. I've used a lightweight lining for the skirt today. There's lots of different things you can use. I've used crepe to line the back of a lace top. So it's not just one type of lining that's slippy and unmanageable. You can get lots of different effects and feelings from different types of fabric alongside your outer fabric. If you're lining a skirt, you will cut your outer skirt pieces and then you can cut exactly the same pieces from lining. You can use all different kinds of lining. It depends what your outer fabric is. So you can use a light acetate lining, you can use satin linings, you can use a soft crepe. So this is a little bit quieter, that's a sort of silent lining. You can use pattern linings, and you can, if you're making a summer skirt and it's just the sheerness of your fabric is the reason that you're lining it, not because you want to stop friction, you can line it with a light muslin. So choose your lining fabric and cut out the same pieces again, but you'll be needing to cut them a little bit shorter. When you cut lining, you want to make sure that you have everything really nice and flat. If you've got lumps and bumps and all the crease lines in it, then you won't get an accurate piece that will fit inside your outer. So make sure that the piece you cut is going to fit inside this by being accurate. So I've pressed my lining. My skirt is made of brocade, which is why I'm lining it, because it's got a lumpy, bumpy texture, and I think that might be slightly uncomfortable against my skin. I'm going to cut 2 identical pieces. The only thing I'm going to change is I'm going to make the lining a little bit shorter. If you have a waistband and it's in 2 pieces, an inner waistband and an outer waistband, you can cut your inner waistband in lining fabric, and that creates a little bit more comfort against your skin. That might be appropriate if you've got a fabric like brocade where you've got a metallic finish and you don't want that to be uncomfortable around your waist. In this case, this is my skirt block from Izzy's So You'll Create Your Own pattern drafted skirt block. So I'm having just a simple finished edge. I'm not having any facings, I'm not having a waistband or anything. I just want to show you how the pieces go together. You'll be creating a replica of your outer in your lining, so you need to make sure that you allow for all of these other features. So these are the darts. I need the lining to have darts in as well, otherwise my lining would be tighter than my outer piece. Some linings, not all, can be quite prone to fraying, so I've used pinking shears so that I can cut that edge. I'm going to use an overlocker to put it together, so I know that that will just stop it fraying while I'm handling the fabric. You need to transfer all of the markings from your pattern piece onto your lining as well, because whatever you do to the outer, you'll need to do to your lining. The first part of lining your skirt is to make your outer skirt. I'm using a brocade, so I've overlocked all of my edges and I've done a Hong Kong seam on the back because it would just give a little bit more stability where I'm going to put the zip. Everything's pressed, and then you do exactly the same with the lining, so all of that is put together. All the darts are the same as the ones in the outer. You need to be a little mindful that you're keeping the seam allowance at the top and the bottom of your skirt. If you want to, you can just grade that out a little bit and make your seam allowance smaller between the top and the bottom. That will give you a little bit more wiggle room inside your skirt. It's a really top tip if you've ever made a line skirt and the lining feels too tight on the inside but the outer was the right shape. This can be a little bit bigger across the hips and thighs, but you do need to keep the seam allowance at the top and the bottom so that your construction all fits together properly. Once you've got the zip in, and I've sewn up the back seam now, and I've got a really seamless zip insertion without a little bobble at the end, then you can sew up the bottom of the lining here, and then you're going to put the 2 skirt pieces together. With the skirt wrong side out and the lining right side facing you, you're going to put the lining pieces together around the waist. It depends what finish you have. If you have a waistband, then this will just be temporary. In my case, this is going to be the finish around the top of here. Make sure by the zip area you've got some fabric to fold back. So your seam allowance will need to be folded back. We're going to sew that near to the zip. Let me get it in place. I can be a little more clearer with you. So you should be able to see the darts on the wrong side of the skirt, and on the inside you should be able to see the darts. And it's important to mention at this point that this is your last chance to try it on, because once you've attached that, you've sealed up all of the darts in the side seam. So it may be that you want to tack that, try it on just before, just to see if you need to take any off the side seams. One of the most incredible things that I found about following Izzy's skirt block drafting series is that once you've made your own skirt, then I kind of know this is going to fit. I've made 2 skirts already, and if you keep the seam allowances the same and you're accurate with your dart measurements, then you can make a really well-fitting skirt. Okay, because I'm having no waistband, then I'm going to sew around here. You can turn and you'll need a way to stop this happening, to stop the lining rolling to the front. And the best way to do that is to understitch. You can also top stitch, just that brocade doesn't look great with top stitching. But the mistake that some people make is they put it on the wrong way. So when the bit that's against their skin is the seam. So you need to make sure that your seam allowance of your skirt and the seam allowance of your lining are touching each other. Okay, I'm going to show you the difference between just pressing that, where you would definitely see some of the lining showing through, and what would happen when I understitch it. To understitch, I've got the seam allowance going towards the lining. So I'm attaching the seam allowance to the lining, and it sort of creates a little mini self-facing. I normally understitch from the other side, but because I've got this quite firm brocade, I'm using the stitching line where I attached it as a bit of a guide, and I'm just sewing 2 or 3 millimeters away from that line, and I'm making sure that the lining is staying nicely out of the way. Okay, let's do some of the finishing bits. So we're just going to finish off around the zip. You're going to look at the seam line across the centre back of your skirt. There's a seam allowance in there, and that's the spare fabric left over here. So neaten everything off and start at the top. Fold the excess lining down and pin it to the zipper tape, and pin all the way through to the other side. Don't pin it too close to the zipper teeth. If you put it too close, when you operate the zip, it will get caught in the zipper teeth. You're going to do the same on the other side until both sides are pinned down, and then hand sew that in place. Don't machine sew it in place if you don't want a line on the back of your skirt. I've got an invisible zip. I don't want a line to be showing on the back, so I'm just going to hand sew it down. There it is, pinned on, and now we can sew. The lining is attached to the edge of the zip, and in this case the lining is understitched to hold it down onto the reverse away from there. And if you are adding a waistband, then you will have tacked that lining to the waistband and add your waistband as you normally would. It depends what fabric you've got and whether you want the fabric to be folded over and if it's comfortable or not. The lining really is for the hips and the thigh area. The last thing you'll be doing is pressing up your hem. So a double folded hem, and you need to make sure that it's not going to drop below your skirt level, and you're also going to turn up your skirt at the same time. So get that length first, and then you can adjust your lining to match. Do make an account on your profile. You can share any of your makes, and you can also check out other people and what they have been up to. You could also stay here and subscribe at our YouTube channel, where you can see lots of content on learn to sew, full sew alongs, fabric and pattern inspiration, or you can check all of that out on our Minerva feed. Do come back for more learn to sew videos very soon, and enjoy your sewing.